Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about higher education and the fall of it. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Fredrik, do you think that college education in computer science is at risk now that more people are starting to use boot camps and don't value a degree as much anymore? And the short answer is yes, I do think so. Let me explain why. You see, anybody who's been following along on my little personal vlog video type of things that I'm doing here will know that I usually say when we're talking about boot camps versus college education that the college education is the prize winner, and it is the prize winner not because there are companies who will only hire you if you have a college degree. It's that simple. Like, they will not even consider. There are programs where they help you learn coding and stuff like that, but you have to be a graduate. And the people who have a bootcamp education, they are looked upon as less valuable. And it, of course, also it depends on the bootcamp. I mean, if you have 3 months of bootcamp training, that's not going to measure up to all that much. If you have 9 months, that's going to maybe be that's going to be better. Like, it's because, as I've also said, it's usually 1 to 5 years of investment that you're looking at in order to make it into the first professional grade software development job that you're going to get. So with that said, I want to make something absolutely clear now. College does not mean that you are better. It only means that you have something that is valued on your CV. That is literally the only thing that it does mean. Because there's nothing about going into a higher education that is necessarily going to make you just a better programmer than someone who took a boot camp. I mean, there are college kids who come out of school that know a fraction of what they need to know, depending on the college that they pick. And none of them are more experienced in software engineering than the bootcamp person who has been working for a year. Because once you've done the work, you're usually a little bit further in than the person who's coming out of theory in school. Because theory in school is not the same thing. It's very hard to describe the differences, but a person who's been doing the work is usually the person who's going to produce the best results, even if they don't have the fancy degree from a college. Now, the reason why I promote you going to an official education, it doesn't have to be a college, it can be a boot camp as well. It's because it helps you with structured learning and it gives you something to put on your CV. If you just state that you're self-taught and you have no training whatsoever, that's even lower in terms of value. And this is the red thread that I want you to pick up on here. It's about perceived value. That's what it's about. The companies that are doing the hiring have this notion that you have to be a certain sort of person. Now, the people who are middle-aged these days and managers, they have gone to college, because it used to be the case that if you wanted to work in software engineering, the only people that got hired were because that's where you learned software engineering. It wasn't on the internet, you learned it in school. So of course the people who are now hiring people for these positions that have made it up to managers and things like that, they still have a very similar value system. I want to hire people who reflect myself, and therefore I'm going to hire people primarily that have a college education. It's a value system. It doesn't necessarily mean that college-educated developers are better. It's just the way that some companies value their people in their hiring process, if that makes sense. Now, this is going away slowly because it is becoming much more accessible to learn how to do software development on the internet or through other means than a college education. And the demand is still super high. If the demand was really, really low, it would have been a different story. But the demand is still so outpacing even today, we can't produce enough college graduates who can take all the jobs. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to have to open the playing field a little bit. And hopefully, by doing that, you're going to start to notice something that is very important, and that's something that us developers usually figure out very quickly when we work in a mixed environment. We realize that the difference between someone who took a boot camp or has studied really hard on their own and someone who has a college education isn't all that big. They have gaps in their knowledge regardless of which path they took. Now, the common one that I see is that the college graduates, they usually have a lot of core knowledge about different principles and other, like, even, I'm sorry to say, irrelevant things such as mathematics, a very strong focus on other things, let's just call it that. But in the sphere of software engineering, they usually have a lot of strong understanding of the theory behind things. But they are lacking in tooling. They are lacking in, I mean, last time I trained a fresh college graduate, he had no idea what Git or version control even was. It wasn't a big deal. We taught him how to use it, but that's like a fundamental thing that you need to know in order to work as a professional. It's all but impossible to find a job without using Git or Mercurial or some subversion. Pick your version control system, right? But the bootcamp people, it was very natural. Like I had this guy, yeah, he knew it, or she knew what it was pretty much because it was included in the education that she had taken herself. It was part of the course, and that's exactly what it is. Why I think that this is a little bit under fire, because as the tool, not only because of the perception changing towards people realizing that you can have very good programmers without a college education. That's one part of it. The other part is that you are starting to realize that there are so many tools that the colleges are not training you in. People are starting to realize that the sphere, or like the entropy in software development, is growing so fast that it's impossible to encapsulate all the things. Now, the bootcamp developers, they are usually being taught by other professionals. They're usually taught by people who are going to show you the tooling and things like that. And that's great, because the tooling is a very big part of understanding what it means to be a software developer. You can't neglect the theory. It's very important with the theory, but the tooling is also very important. And the colleges, they are not prioritizing that as much. They're still in the academic sphere in many senses of the word, in many senses. And that is something that they should address. And it may be their downfall unless they're very careful. So what I want you to take away from this is that I absolutely believe that the higher educations within computer science and software engineering is a little bit under threat now because of the enormous demand that we have in software engineering. We have so many job openings open that the colleges, they can't produce enough students or enough graduates that can take these jobs. And the demand on tooling and having extra industry knowledge that usually isn't covered in the college education is more and more relevant. It gets more and more relevant every day. It's more relevant than ever today to know a very large suite of industry tools, and these tools are usually covered much more in detail on the internet through boot camps or other means. And unless the college kids are doing that on their own time, they're going to be a little bit, they're going to have a lot of theory, but they're not going to have a lot of practical knowledge of the things that they need in order to do the daily job, which is what the boot camps are going to offer. So I think that there is a switch moving over to, or rather it's going from being primarily college education that is required in order to get a job as a programmer to it balancing out a little bit. And I think it has mostly to do with the fact that people are understanding now that the best computers or software development knowledge that is available is not just found in the academic world anymore. It is actually accessible through other means. Have a great day.